While everybody was freaking out this week as Bitcoin crashed to $53,000 and everybody's scared of Mt. Gox, everybody missed what this $722 billion bank just announced regarding Bitcoin and Bitcoin custody. And surprise, surprise, this domino is the final domino that Michael Saylor has long talked about is a necessary ingredient to push Bitcoin to actually be worth $10 million in today's value. So $10 million per Bitcoin in today's value. So for anyone who missed it, I'm going to play you guys the quick video of Michael Saylor explaining the 3 necessary catalysts we would need to push Bitcoin to $1 million. And then we're going to look at this most recent announcement to see what it means.
$500,000 a coin, regardless of whether they fix these things. But there are 3 things that are massive catalysts that cause an acceleration. And I don't think that those 3 things don't take us to 500,000. They take us to 5 million a coin, right? Those 3 things are a spot ETF where someone can go ahead and buy $100 million of Bitcoin, buy a security, an ETF security. I think that's 1. 2 is your bank is going to custody it for you and lend against it. And 3 is I can mark it up or mark it down on my balance sheet based on fair value, pari passu. It'll be pari passu to the way I'd handle Apple stock, or at least that good. If you have property with fair value accounting, by the way, it becomes pari passu to the way you'd handle treasury bonds on a treasury balance sheet. Treasuries are better than stocks because treasury is property, whereas a stock is a security, and you're capped out at 40% of your balance sheet as security. So it would be a major, major breakthrough if you saw any of those 3 things. And I'll end with this one observation. I tweeted this last week, but I think it's very powerful. It's if the banks can hold this stuff on their balance sheet, then a whole new class of investors are going to buy it. People are going to put in billion and multi-billion-dollar orders to buy it as a treasury asset. Nobody's going to sell it because there's no reason to sell it if you can borrow against it at LIBOR plus or SOFR plus 50 basis points. Right, so you'll be borrowing against Bitcoin at SOFR plus 50 or SOFR plus 100 basis points. No one's ever.
Okay, so there's the video that of Michael Saylor actually explaining the 3 things that we need to see to push Bitcoin to $10 million per coin. Now you might notice we have all 3 of those things now. Number 1. Spot Bitcoin ETF approved. This happened in 2024. FASB, fair value accounting, got approved 2024. And since then, we actually have had many public companies come out there and announce their Bitcoin buys. Similar Scientific, Metaplanet, DeFi Technologies, and we even have the CEO of Dell, the 10th richest man in the world, tweeting about Bitcoin, okay? So there are 2 of the things that happened in early 2024 that have already triggered a lot of public companies to show interest in Bitcoin. But the 3rd just got passed through literally this week. And that is banks actually allowing custody and trading of Bitcoin. So Standard Chartered Bank, which is a $722 billion bank, which is on the title of today's video, has established a Bitcoin trading desk, okay, in here. In a groundbreaking move that signals a shift in the banking industry's approach to Bitcoin, Standard Chartered is setting up a Bitcoin trading desk in London. This move positions the British multinational bank as one of the first global banks to offer direct spot trading in digital assets, making a significant step forward in the mainstream adoption of Bitcoin. Okay, this is huge. This is massive. They openly came out and said the quiet parts out loud. We've been working closely with regulators to support demand for institutional clients to trade Bitcoin. Massive, really, really big, okay? Very, very big. Now, why do I think this announcement is interesting? The first being the size of Standard Chartered Bank, and the second being their Bitcoin reputation, okay? So let me show you why they are such an important bank, okay? Again, $722 billion for a bank, it's massive. This website here actually says that they have $822 billion worth of assets, which again is absolutely massive. What else is really important about Standard Chartered? The important parts of this website are highlighted. I've showed that they have 12,000 branches across 70 countries, and they employ about 85,000 people. Okay, so this is not just a tiny little public company buying Bitcoin like DeFi Technologies or MetaPlanet. Some people say, but Luke, they've only bought $10 million of Bitcoin. Yes, they're public companies, but they're not huge. Okay, and there's a fair argument to that. There's a fair argument and a fair pushback to the public companies who have adopted Bitcoin this year. But Standard Chartered Bank, they're a big bank. Same with Semler Scientific, the big healthcare company that's come out there and bought $40 million of Bitcoin with all the cash on their balance sheet and recently announced that they're issuing $150 million worth of stock to go out there and buy Bitcoin. Okay, they're big companies. Standard Chartered is the next big company making a big move and a big splash in the Bitcoin kiddie pool. Okay, this is big. This is massive. A lot of people are overlooking what is going on with Standard Chartered Bank. Now, going to talk more. I have one more reason for why I think this announcement by Standard Chartered Bank is so pivotal and is so massive. Before we do that, I did want to give a quick little shout out to our flagship sponsor, which is Rhino Bitcoin. Okay, Rhino Bitcoin is essentially the all-in-one Bitcoin everything application. You can buy Bitcoin on Rhino, you can sell Bitcoin on Rhino, you can do all sorts of different things with Rhino. It's an incredible app, has a super slick user interface. Take a look at this. I mean, that is really slick. It's very nice. It's one of the first Bitcoin companies I've used, that I have seen pull off the color purple. Okay, they've done well. As you can see, you can pay bills and invoices in Bitcoin. You can use this as a Lightning wallet, so you can send to people on the Lightning network. You can do all sorts of really, really cool things with Rhino Bitcoin. I highly recommend you guys check out the link in the description of today's video, and you can get started with Rhino. Okay, download the app today because they are, as they say right here, they're bridging the conventional banking with the future of Bitcoin. You can pay bills, you can fund your account with Bitcoin or US dollars. And again, this is super cool. You can get a little debit card. I'm actually super excited by that because obviously traveling, it's very difficult to get a debit card that you can kind of pay with things in dollars, but you can fill it up with Bitcoin. So again, watch what Rhino is doing. They're an incredible company, and you're going to see lots of big things from them in the future. Now, speaking of big things coming in the future, Standard Chartered Bank. Okay, the reason why their most recent Bitcoin announcement today is such a big deal is because of their reputation with Bitcoin. We can see here on July 10th, 2023, Standard Chartered boosts their 2024 Bitcoin forecast to $120,000. Now, at the time, in July 2023, most people didn't even know what Bitcoin was. Most people thought Bitcoin was dead in July 2023, okay? Nobody was really paying any attention to Bitcoin. Nobody really thought that it was like this, it was possible that it could hit $50,000, let alone $100,000. So I'm actually gonna show you guys on a chart where Standard Chartered first started actually talking about Bitcoin in a big way, because July 2023 is a very, very, very long time ago. If I were to grab a Bitcoin chart, share my screen and show it to you, this is actually before BlackRock announced their Bitcoin ETFs. Okay, so that's important. That's significant for a number of reasons. But we can see if I were to put July 2023 on a chart, that's right there. Bitcoin was at $25,000. Most people thought that Bitcoin's rally from 16K to 25K was a dead cat bounce. Most people thought Bitcoin was dead. Everybody was saying, oh, Bitcoin's going to roll over. You know, this is a BlackRock announcing a Bitcoin ETF is exit liquidity. Everybody was saying that. Who remembers that narrative? Everybody was saying, oh, but we had that Canadian spot Bitcoin ETF launch in 2021 at the very top of the market. And we saw Coinbase have their public listing and the futures market. Because all of those marked the top in 2021, BlackRock's announcement of the spot Bitcoin ETF in August 2023, that is going to mark the top of this Bitcoin cycle. That was the narrative. Everybody thought that Bitcoin was dead at that white line. But we know what happened. We know that Bitcoin rallied immensely after all. Okay, Bitcoin did crazy things. Bitcoin rallied from 25K to 73K. Okay, now most recently, we are experiencing a little bit of a Bitcoin correction. Some people are wondering what's going on. Is Bitcoin dead? Well, before we talk more about Standard Chartered, and Michael Saylor's $10 million Bitcoin prediction, let's answer the question. There might be some new people wondering, is Bitcoin dead? Well, let's have a look with some charts. So this here is the charts of Bitcoin pullbacks this year. So as you can see, today we are experiencing the biggest Bitcoin pullback we've ever seen. It's about 25%. We have a 25% drawdown in the price of Bitcoin. So is this normal? Does this happen in bull markets? Oh boy, yes it does. On screen, I have a chart of what Bitcoin did in 2017, when it rallied from $1,000 in the beginning of 2017 to $20,000 in December 2017. Sounds like a pretty good rally, doesn't it? 20x. A lot of people would think, oh, I would have made a killing if I knew about Bitcoin in 2017. I would have just put $1,000 in at the start of the year, and I would have sold it at the top in December for $20,000. Would have been really easy, right? That's what most people think. Well, have a look at the chart. You can see that you would have had to endure 6 corrections bigger than 29%. A lot of people think that they would have been able to hold Bitcoin through all of that volatility. But this chart is a beautiful demonstration in the lesson that nobody knows where the price of Bitcoin is going in the short term. Okay? Absolutely nobody knows. Okay? Now, and it's most interestingly, this chart, or most importantly, demonstrates that Bitcoin has lots of corrections in a bull market designed to shake the retail speculators out of their positions. And that is what we're seeing today. We're seeing the first real drawdown and correction designed to scare the retail out of their Bitcoin position. We have a 25% correction right now. A lot of people are scared, and there's not enough people doing what Brandon is doing in the chat. G'day, fellow dip buyers. Only recently found this channel. Great stuff. Thank you so much for the kind words, Brendan. Let's check on the chat before we talk more about Standard Chartered, because there's a few of you guys in the chat today. So MCP says, what city is in the background? So I have Medellin in the background. It actually looks a lot nicer during the day, but we have a nice 270-degree view where we're staying right now. I'm very, very fortunate to be staying where I am. I've been hooked up with a very good friend here in Colombia who's been far too nice and hooking us up with a mansion. Let's just say that. We're pretty much staying in a mansion. It's enormous. We're staying in a 12,000 square foot home right now. And yeah, the view's pretty nice during the day. So that's the city that I'm in right now. To DJ, everybody should be holding Bitcoin for the long term. Absolutely everybody. So I don't think there is an official channel for BTC News, but we have been named bitcoinnews.com for a very long time, and we do have the domain bitcoinnews.com. Not sure if that answers your question or not, but let's talk more about Standard Chartered and Michael Saylor's $10 million Bitcoin prediction. We've talked a little bit about, why Standard Chartered is important. They're one of the first big banks to come out there and make a bet on Bitcoin when most people thought it was a joke. Okay, this article came out in 2023, July 2023, before BlackRock actually announced their spot Bitcoin ETF. Again, Bitcoin was at $25,000, and we had a $700 or $800 billion bank predicting Bitcoin to go to $125,000. Okay, in the past 3 months, most of you guys have heard a ton of people predict $100,000. And that's obviously popular when Bitcoin's just rallied from 16K to 75K. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon. Bitcoin's going to 100K, Bitcoin's going to 200K. There weren't many people saying that Bitcoin could hit 200K or 300K or 500K in the middle of the 2022 bear market. Okay, not many people were talking about that possibility. Standard Chartered was. Okay, this is why I think this bank means a little bit more than a lot of the other, weak Bitcoin price predictions that do get thrown around. Okay, because there are a lot of weak Bitcoin price predictions thrown around all over the place. Okay, so Standard Chartered, pay attention. They're a big bank. As we showed you guys, they've got tons of branches. They've got 70,000 employees. They're an enormous bank, and what they're doing in the Bitcoin space is a really, really big thing, and you need to be paying attention to it. Okay, if you do want to be paying attention to everything that's happening in the Bitcoin space, we've actually got a free newsletter where we aim to break down all of the complicated jargon in the Bitcoin space, and we're going to deliver you a short, sharp 5-minute read to your inbox once a week. It's called Bitcoin News Weekly. As you can see, it's free to subscribe. It's free to unsubscribe. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. But we try to break down the most complex, things going on in the Bitcoin space on a weekly basis. Okay, on our Twitter account, we do a whole lot of posting. Over on Twitter, we probably post 10 times a day. Okay, we've got about 147,000 followers on Twitter. We post 10, 20 times a day, as you can see. But in that newsletter, we break down the signal from the 150 tweets we might do a week, and we break it down to like a 5-minute read. So again, if you're interested in getting all of the information Bitcoin space synthesized, check out the free newsletter. And to answer this question, I think they would have to be in the top 50 banks in the world. They would have to be, because from memory, there's only around 10 or 15 banks that have more than $1 trillion of assets under management. Okay, so Standard Chartered being an $822 billion bank, they would have to be in the top 50 banks around the world to answer that question. Okay, so they're a big deal. They're a massive deal. They're nearly as a bigger deal as BlackRock entering the Bitcoin space. Okay, lots of people have entered the Bitcoin space, and if obviously we've talked about BlackRock in the past, and more recently we talked about Michael Dell. Okay, so this week we've actually done a couple of live streams on a couple of different billionaires. We talked about Peter Thiel, who's actually said that he's not bullish on Bitcoin anymore because he thinks it's been captured by BlackRock. As you can see, that's the thumbnail on the right-hand side of the screen. Billionaire exposes why BlackRock's captured Bitcoin. So again, if you missed that video, we highly recommend you check it out. And if you've seen that one and you want to learn a little bit more about why the 10th richest man is selling $6 billion worth of stock today, and you want to hear the case for why he could be selling Dell stock for Bitcoin, you can check out the other thumbnail, which is right in the middle of the screen. There are 2 different live streams we've done this week, where we're trying to bring you all of the most interesting stories in the Bitcoin space in a fun and short way. Most of our live streams are under 15 minutes, under 20 minutes. Our whole goal at Bitcoin News is to bring you the news in a condensed amount of time, okay? We don't want to do an hour-long live streams. We want to give you the news, the short facts, the stories that matter in 10 to 15 minutes. So speaking of that, we've been going for about 17 minutes. There's 88 of you guys on YouTube, so thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. Check out those videos if you haven't seen them. They're going to be linked in the chat, and they're also up on screen, as you can see. And I will love you and leave you guys on that note. Enjoy the rest of your day.